I'm here today to find a bicycle I've loved since first trying a test unit in 2019. Well, I'm talking about the Canyon Aeroad, which I think is one of the most attractive bikes aesthetically, at least for me. I'm not sure what you all think. I'm looking for a special unit, not just the one I tried in 2019, but also the one we often see on television. Van der Poel, Philipsen, a ton of victories, really interesting. The Movistar team. And I'm here at Rocacorba Batelier, which is one of the 3 physical locations that Canyon has in all of Spain. A chance to see, touch, even try things out. You can see practically the entire range of bikes they have here. We're in Girona. It's a place where you can rent them, but you can also test them out. As you can see, almost the entire range of Canyon bikes. And well, I think I have Joan here, whom I know from riding in a group together a few times. Hello, good afternoon. How are you, Joan?
How are you?
How's that cucumber going?
Very well. I'm finishing the last details.
Impressive, huh?
Very handsome, honestly.
Impressive. All right, come on. Are you going to tell me the details, huh? Let's take advantage of the fact that we're at the Canyon booth at CFR Europe, and they actually have a big part of the booth dedicated to the new My Canyon service for customization. Here are several frame options with unique personalized paint jobs, including some designed by a female designer. We have this one here. Check this out. It has an almost red marble touch. Well, impressive. My favorite among all the ones you can choose from. Here we would go to see something else. Here we have absolutely all the color customizations that are currently offered. Hey, impressive, this green. It must look awesome. On top of the Aeroad, the handlebar. In the end, we're simply talking about differences in stem length because, as we've already said, the handlebar width can be adjusted as standard. And finally, here we have the different saddles that can be mounted on the Aeroad. This is the highest end there is.
This is the top version of this bike model.
Awesome. And what components does it come with?
It comes with components like the wheels. They're DT Swiss ARC 1100 with a 280 hub. It also features Shimano's Dura-Ace group set, which needs no introduction.
I was surprised by the tires, which already come standard as mullet, if we can call it that.
Yes.
With 25 millimeters of width in the front with the aerodynamic Continental with these grooves it has, and yet 28 in the back with the GP5000, the mythical.
The one everyone knows as well.
Exactly, yes.
Yes. Canyon does that mainly because it's the aero bike. The Ultimate doesn't have it, but the aero bike does. They aim to improve aerodynamics and focus on every detail. So they put that 25 tire in the front, the aerodynamic Continental one, and the 28 in the back.
Still, both front and back rim profiles are 50 millimeters.
Exactly, 50 millimeters on both.
All right. And this frame, these colors don't look familiar from television, do they?
Well, this specific color is from Alpecin.
I believe Philipsen and Van der Poel have won races.
They've used it. They've used it. Yes, that's right. And then finally, as the top of the range, the frame. It's the CFR. So, is it the carbon used by the professionals that's used for the factory racing?
Let me tell you, don't be fooled by this bike's looks. It's much more than just an aero.
That's what it means.
And the surprise about this bike is that in recent years, even though it apparently looks like an aero bike, and that's how this model was born to go along with the Endurate. Recently, we've seen super lightweight riders like Quintana use them in stages with 3,000 to 4,000 meters of elevation gain. I mean, pretty much both Movistar and Alpecin, especially Movistar, which probably has more climbers on their team, use this bike.
Correct. This is Canyon's most aerodynamic bike. But 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, they made improvements to make it more of a climber's bike. So they've made it much better for climbing. And that's what you said. The entire Canyon equipped peloton chooses the aero, never the climber's bike.
Joan is absolutely right when he says that after the last restyling, this bike has changed its behavior a lot. Because beyond the looks that seem the same, really the behavior, the handling of the bike, especially when climbing, is completely new. Maybe it's something about how the carbon is built or the arrangement of the carbon layers. To achieve, on one hand, that this bike is much lighter than the previous one, and on the other, that the climbing sensations have improved substantially compared to other pure strict aero bikes from its generation about 4 years ago. For example, I have a Felt AR, and it's a bike that can handle up to an 8% incline.
But beyond that, the gap with a pure climbing bike is significant.
However, I'm not talking about the pros here who are able to ride any kind of bike. Extremely fast on alpine climbs in the high mountains, but for us as enthusiasts with this bike, on a 12% incline, I don't notice any difference from a pure climbing bike. If I add to this the fact that on flat terrain, it's a real machine for eating up kilometers at very high speed. For example, I'll show you my first ride with it, not fully adjusted and without the power meter connected. I got home after 4 hours, having ridden alone with little elevation gain. Okay, but at an average speed of 33.5 and a heart rate of about 130 beats per minute. I mean, I didn't push myself at any point, and riding alone, I was able to maintain a very high average speed. I'm not used to riding that fast, okay? If you add to this the fact that the bike's handling in corners feels agile, it feels easy, it's not hard at all to lean it into a turn. Or even using 50mm rims, wow! You have an all-around bike that's amazing for the performance of an amateur rider like you or me. So we've praised the Aeroad a lot. Is there any real criticism I can make? In terms of handling, it's hard to find a weak point. Maybe more than a criticism. There's a warning I want to share with you. The first thing is that the riding position on the bike is very aggressive. It's extremely race-oriented. I know we all want to have the bikes our idols use, but if you're a cyclist who rides once a week looking for comfort on long rides and so on, this probably isn't the bike for you. The Dura-Ace or some other bike is more for the road, but this bike is a racing machine. That's its one and only purpose. On the other hand, it's also worth noting that Canyon sizes run pretty large.
Here I'm wearing a size S, just so you know, when I usually wear a size M in other brands. This is very typical of Central European brands, which tend to run large.
Okay, so keep this in mind when choosing your size. Canyon has a chart on their website where you can get an approximate idea of the size you would need. And is it true that having a 25mm tire in front and a 28 in back? For flat situations where you want maximum speed, getting the most out of the Aeroad makes sense. For amateurs like us, if you plan to ride in medium or high mountains or take curves at high speed, it might be better to use 28 tires in front and back, or a 28 in front and 30 in back, or two 30s. It depends on the comfort you want, but a 25 in the front is considered pretty radical nowadays. Considering the bike's maximum tire clearance is 32mm. If we compare the geometries with other reference aero road bikes in the World Tour, you'll see that almost all of them have pretty much the same numbers. The only different impression we might get from the Canyon, and in this case from the Ridley, is that the head tube is taller. Don't make the mistake of thinking that for this reason. This Aeroad, for example, or the Ridley, are more comfortable, because what actually happens is that the other two competitors in this table, the Colnago and the Cervelo, have worse head tubes, but then they reach a higher position with specific stems. That already has that shape. So as you can see, in terms of geometry, more or less all current aero road bikes have more or less the same numbers. I'm going to share my opinion. For me, this bike is one of the sexiest in the professional peloton. To each their own, everyone has their opinion, but I really think it has a frame design that catches the eye. And I don't think it's a coincidence. It's full of details, and we're going to try to take a look at them. It's simply a checklist of aesthetic things that work really well on this bike. But like I said, I'm glad they're there. Like, for example, it's a simple detail, but notice how the axles are hidden both in the rear and in the fork. Well, that already gives it a distinctive touch.
That the seat stays reach halfway up.
It's always sexy when the strap goes all the way up. It absorbs whatever you want very well, but aesthetically, it's not the same touch. And when they're too low, sometimes they look a little weird. And the fact that the actual stays, this diagonal bar and the fork itself have such flat sections, almost like a triathlon bike, also gives it a very different vibe. Also, check the bottom bracket. See how it has a very elaborate extension of the chainstay here, how it comes forward, so that when the crank is positioned here, they're practically a single piece. It's a detail that I suppose has its function in terms of stiffness, but aesthetically it also creates a distinction. And finally, this straight top tube still looks good, even though sloped tubes with a downward curve are usually more visually appealing. Since it's thinner, it gives all the prominence to the flat part of the down tube, which is also decorated with an oversized logo. With so many brands already using tiny minimalist logos, I'm not saying they're better or worse. But this one from Canyon, stretched out diagonally in italics on this bar. Hey, what's the handlebar width?
The handlebar is now at 40.
Can we set it to 38?
It'll be illegal for the Union Cycliste Internationale, but yes.
But I'm not joining the Tour de France.
Let's set it to 38 then.
Thank you.
The process would be to loosen these screws underneath here. There are 2 on each side.
Anyone can do this at home.
Anyone can do this at home.
I mean, you can adjust the measurement to, this works really well to understand what width suits each person, right? Because you can keep experimenting there.
That's right.
Go out on Saturday with 38, on Sunday with 40.
That's right. The problem is that if you don't know how to tighten it, you have to do it right. Otherwise, it'll start creaking.
Well, but always.
Yes, but for that, and Canyon gives you a good explanation on their website. They have videos showing how to assemble everything properly.
Okay.
And that way, we make sure there are no mistakes. So we've already removed the 2 screws from here. You just take it out. This is one piece. You take it out. If you want it narrower, it was at 40. You have the 42 measurement, but it was at 40. We have to take out a bit of tape to set it to 38 and then put it back in.
Perfect. Well, if the tape isn't involved, we're talking about 3 minutes to do the operation.
That's right.
Of course, always with a torque wrench, okay?
Always.
Let's not mess it up.
In fact, to tighten this properly, you have to tighten both screws separately. It says 6 Newton meters, but you tighten each to 3, alternate, and gradually increase both to 6. That's what's explained in the video.
Let's see inside. How? The shape it has. Interesting.
We removed the tape here and see. You can already see that it said 39 here. I told you 40, but it's 39 and 37.
Here are the measurements. Place one on each line to identify the measurement, then insert the screws and you're done.
If we can set it to 37, well...
At 37, maybe that's even too much, huh? Way too illegal and everything.
Way too fast.
Express recommendation.
Express recommendation. Never put carbon grease or any other type of grease here in this part. Simply, just as it comes, you insert it to the measurement you want and tighten it, and that's it. No grease or anything else.
So the question is this the most versatile Aeroad bike that an amateur can have? I haven't tried every bike on the market, but of all the Aeroad bikes I've tested, this one feels the most all-around and versatile. You can get the most out of it in any situation. Now it's your turn. Please leave a comment. What score would you give this Canyon Aeroad from 1 to 10? If there's a happy owner of this generation or any of the previous ones, please leave your feedback down below so others can read it. If they're interested in buying, and please give the video a big like, share it with your cyclist friends, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so yet, because more awesome videos are coming. Be very happy. Bye bye.